everybody, Julie Murphy here, and welcome to another Awaken Your Relationships. Why? Because you deserve it. That's the bottom line. You deserve it. And you know what? I've been over 25 years as a financial planner, and we either work things out and we act it out. We do it through our money, through our health, and through our relationships. So as my personal unpacking happened through the years in my relationships, I sought people out to help me because I operate better with a coach. And this is where Rita and I have connected. And for the last almost 2 years, can you believe almost 2 years?
I know. Isn't it wonderful? We've both grown so much. If we look at the beginning videos and we look at now, it's like, wow, who is that person? Who are you? But that's how fast growth happens when you work in a community, when you work with someone who knows what they're doing. Growth happens at a quantum leaps.
Yep,
I can't even imagine how you've handled all the changes in your life. You know?
Oh, wow. It's funny that you say that. And before we dig deep in that, I want to remind people to hit the subscribe button, like, and hit that notification bell, because we want to help you get to a life that you absolutely love because you deserve it. And the most precious commodity we have is time. So why spend any more time in a life that you don't absolutely love? So, Rita, you're right. Over the last couple of years, I mean, my journey started in all this transition in 2017. Like, that's when it first started to go down. And, for those of you who don't know, like, personally, I went on this journey where I started to realize, I always say, work things out or act it out. And mine on the health is where it first started coming. Going, no, I teach people this. I don't need to develop breast cancer. I had 7 people come say, I had a dream about you. And probably the weirdest one that probably put me over the edge was an estate planning gay male attorney calls me up and goes, Jewel, you have to go get a mammogram. I had a dream about you and you need to go. This was like number 7. I had another business owner, a friend from grammar school.
Wow.
They all called me and I was like, what? And so I went and had a mammogram. Sure as shit, they found something. But they were like, we're going to watch this. I'm like, and breast cancer emotionally is all about not self-nurturing yourself as much as you do other people. And I'm like, well, my mom had breast cancer, so I get it. And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't need to manifest this. I am not going to manifest this. And so this is where, as I started to address the health stuff, I was like, okay, Spirit, just show me what needs to be addressed. And what I was shown is that I was in a marriage that did not feed my heart and soul. And it's no fault of anybody's. It's no anything. I really believe we call each other's souls in to do the work that we're meant to do. And, my ex just the other day said to me, he's like, sometimes I feel like I'm the villain of your life. Nope, you're my greatest teacher. You are absolutely not the villain. You are my greatest teacher, and I am forever grateful for that.
And you said this after spending how much money getting divorced?
$600,000 in 11 months.
If you have the ability to spend that kind of coin, that amount of cash, and still look at your ex who you wanted to be away from for good reasons, if you can do that and look at the situation and say, hey, I love you and I want what's best for you. Let's work at what's best for the kids without resentment, without hiding anything.
Right. So let's talk about that. So I am super clear. I talk about things in a financial manner, that there's your financial past, there's you in the present moment, and your future. And from a financial perspective, your past is your debts. So if you keep talking about your debts and you keep recreating, then you're going to keep recreating the debts. Like if that's where all your attention goes, that's where all your money energy is going to flow. And that is true in relationships as well. So I really decided that the only way, and Rita, you really hammered this home with me, that if I showed up differently, then the past won't keep showing up. And that has been nothing but true. But I got to tell you, it takes a lot of inner strength to be able to say, okay, despite all this experience of X, Y, and Z, and I'm kind of afraid that it's going to happen again because I don't want to go down that path again because I knew that's not what my heart wanted. How do I keep showing up? And, everyone is evolving today. Everyone. And
they have no choice. I mean, because when you change something, Yeah.
Mhm.
When you pull a block out of the Jenga game, everything has to change. And here's the beauty. You know, I've got a friend of mine who is borderline personality, which means that they're an amazing growth engine for me, you know, in recognizing why they behave towards, yeah, what's going on. But their tendency is to blow things up, you know, just because of their temperament. And I'm a Taurus. I like things to pretty much stay the same while I'm in a bath eating chocolates, right? And something that smells good. I don't want things to change. And one of the greatest lessons they taught me is when you blow things up, it gives you a chance to put things back together the way you want them. So don't be afraid of the inevitable change that's happening, because if you keep your wits about you, if you keep yourself zen and in a level space, you can put it back together your way, not the way that you were taught, not the way everybody's telling you. You can do it in your way because you're conscious, and most people are unconscious.
Right. And more people are going to become conscious, right? Like that's part of what all this awakening is going on around the country and the world. So don't judge your current circumstances based on your past experiences.
But it's hard not to, because your body, you know, but your body's telling you to run as fast as you can in the other direction. Your heart's beating faster. Your breathing is speeding up. It feels like the very thing you need to do right now is to go say that thing or do that thing. And it takes great strength to say, no, I'm going to get back in my body instead.
Right. And so what I have learned is that, you know, I'm an engager, right? So something happens, I'm going to engage and I'm going to take care of it, and we're going to go, right?
I love that about you. I love it.
So, but what I realized is that when I started to go into that mode, I actually needed to not call anybody. I was one of those people that would call everybody up and hash it out so I could work it out through my system. And I was like, oh no, I'm actually not feeling the feelings of what's actually really happening because I'm talking to so many people. And so this is where we really have to get to the place that it's an inside job. An absolute inside job.
I was writing an email today about that, because for my content that I put out, and it was that very same thing. It was that it's not your spouse's fault. And if you're distracted by someone else's challenges, you're not focused on the golden goose that's going to lay the golden eggs, which is you.
Right.
You are the prize. You are the fruit. You have to feed yourself.
Yep. Sorry, I'm going to help with this sun here.
That's okay. As I said, I love changing shadows. They're wonderful.
Winter time, the sun's in a whole different place, and so now we got some pretty good stuff. But you're right. I mean, so we all have to get to this place where we just have to be okay with doing what's okay for our insides.
Yes.
And not feel so uncomfortable that we're doing it for ourselves.
Yes.
This is the issue, because I have watched when what traditionally would be called selfish acts, right? If you actually do that, wow, that's where the magic is. You know, I love this one quantum physicist. She's on Gaia, and she's on Greg Braden's channel.
I've been watching her lately. Mystery Teachings.
Mystery Teachings. Yeah, her name's Teresa. I forget her last name.
But Bullard?
Yeah,
Teresa Bullard.
Yeah. And she really showed on a quantum physics way, pure science, how when you align you with yourself, everything else around you orchestrates accordingly. So everything on your outside is actually what's going on in your inside. So like, let's use this as an example. So if you're a person who has a home that you're a hoarder, or there's stuff everywhere, disarray, Well, that's because that's how you are in your inside. You don't feel organized. You don't feel that you're yourself. And so that's all just a distraction. I always said one of the first assignments I give people when if financially they're so disconnected from their money, I actually tell them, I go, okay, your assignment is going to be to go and clean out your closets at home. And they're like, what does it have to do with money? And I'm like, well, it's reflective of, your spending habits, and you're buying things that you don't necessarily use because it's all stuffed in all of your closets. And almost every single time, if somebody's really got jammed up closets, they get a cold or a sore throat from moving all that stuff in their house.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do we go from like the stuff on the outside of ourselves to now start to move the stuff on the inside? And Rita, I'm sure you've got some tips and tools.
Oh, yeah, this is hilarious. So one of the first things that I do with people is they come to me with their problems, oh no, oh no, oh no. And about 5 minutes in, I say, if I get uncomfortable, because as an empath, I can feel what everybody else is feeling.
Really, you can feel it all.
And I have no tolerance for being uncomfortable. So I don't let people make me uncomfortable. I stop them and I do a healing with them. I say, okay, let's just stop. So 5 minutes in, I'll say, you know what, let's just pause for a second. I'm, rude as I can be, and I interrupt. And I go, let's just pause for a second. And then I take them on like this journey to the edges of the universe, and space. And their thought in their mind is, what does me going on a visualization to the edges of space have to do with my hoarding, or have to do with my money issues? Or have to do, and I'm like, no, just wait, okay? And then we go on this vision into space, and we, galaxies and stars and Milky Way and blue light. Yep. And then I bring them back, and I say, now what do you want to tell me about your spouse? Now what do you want to tell me about your money or your child or your need for revenge or whatever?
Right.
Because it's not about figuring it out in your head. It's about recognizing that your brain is having a wonderful time creating stories about what you feel.
Oh, we have so many stories.
But you know what you feel is possibly dehydrated. Possibly you feel like you don't have enough fiber. Possibly you feel like you have too much cortisol in your system. And when you calm down by going on a visualization to the edge of space, suddenly you're detoxing all the stress out of your system. Your vision opens up. You see solutions to problems. Most times we're in that reactionary state where it's either yes, no, black, white, up, down. But there is always a third level solution and a fourth level solution and a fifth level solution. But you have to calm your butt down enough so that you can get into that space. And suddenly you can tell your ex, who you spent $600,000 to divorce, you know what? I really love you. I think, I want what's best for you. I want you to thrive.
Right. So it's funny. So that communication first started actually to share with people. It came with first communicating that to my children, because it was harder to communicate that to him first. But I would tell the kids, you don't think that I love your dad? Like, I gave him the best financial launch pad anyone could ever imagine, because he got the majority of what we were living on. And I knew, because I'm in a different career than he is, and I'm going to have more to create in my future. And I go, how do you think that this happened and that happened, and gave examples. And they're like, wow, you really do love him, Mom. And so I'm sure that leaked through when they were at his house. Right. And then eventually I got to the place where I could express gratitude to him. And, but again, what has it been? 3.5 years since I got divorced? And this almost 6-year journey that I've been on. Doesn't happen overnight. So you have to meet yourself where you're at, right? Because this process that we don't realize it's actually the deconstruction of our egos. and the need to be right, and that there's a right and a wrong. And that's part of also what needs to dissolve, is that there's not a right or wrong. There's just, okay, I like to tell my children these days, because certainly everyone is pressed to their nth degree these days, um, that it's just a menu of options. Like, stay empowered, because here's the menu of options, and what do I want off this menu, and which is the one that resonates with me the most. You can apply that to anything, and you may not like all the options, but which one resonates the most? Because your reality is your reality no matter what. Like, you can't change that. So
Right. You have to
why
change
not work
your
around it?
attitude. Yep. You
Mhm.
have to change your attitude around it. And when
Right.
you change your attitude around it, it's like you're living in a different universe.
Mm.
You start to see opportunities where you didn't see them before. You start to see kindnesses. You
Right.
know, when your ex is angry, he can't see how much you love him. And so keeping him angry is going to keep, that relationship from ever healing or getting better.
Well, and it's interesting when you say that. One of the conversations recently was about respect. Well, you don't respect me. And I go, I don't respect you? And I pointed out how I've financially provided for him in ways that are not customary in divorce. And, tax-free alimony, just to make things like ease and grace on the other side. I go, I think I'm extremely respectful. And it was, part of that also comes, like, again, going back to, because this isn't about the other person. It's about the fact that I had to actually find my voice to communicate that, to stop coming from my trauma patterns of I'm not worthy, not enough. And that has nothing to do with anybody but myself. And again, this comes up even in the money world. Like, right? It's not just happening in relationships, it's happening in the money world too. When I don't feel like I'm worthy, I'm overcompensating and over providing and we're not allowing people to step into their own power. Or, I actually gave advice one time to this one mom. They had relationship challenges, and she would just continue. She was at home mom, and she would continuously just rack up debt. And I'm like, where do you feel like you're not in control of your life? Because this debt, the husband knew nothing about. And so she was jacking up $10,000 to $15,000 of credit card debt. And for years, she would then just say, I need more money. I need more money. Well, he's like, well, stop spending. And this is the conversation I would hear. And so this was just a form of her wanting to, she didn't feel like she was in control of her own life because she didn't have her voice. And I was like, oh, this is what we need to talk about. And it's funny, their relationship has gotten so much better because I've provoked them to talk about, the stuff that's underlying the surface of, why aren't you telling them about a $15,000 credit card debt that your parents have paid off twice? Yeah, like her parents even stepped in. Like, so we as parents, I want people to hear this too. Stop interfering in somebody else's. Like, they think that they're helping their daughter out, but they're actually enabling her, and she's not actually learning what her soul growth needs to go through to get to this other side. This is the challenge,
I'm just looking at your hair, and it's so beautiful with the sun on one side.
I know, I'm like, okay, which way should I go? Maybe I should
No,
go.
no. It's so cool just the way that it is.
Oh, you're so
It adds this. Oh, yeah. No, it feels like, one of those paintings like the Mona Lisa where the light's coming in through a window, and shining on your hair. It's really quite beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, the sun is in a quite interesting position today. I'm like, okay, this is new. I
But
suppose
here's the difference. Yeah, you could be stressed out about it, but that doesn't do you any good. And a lot of other people might be, but that doesn't help anybody. I like to tell people, we really can only hold on to so many thoughts at a time. We really have so many resources. And are you going to spend your resources, the precious resources that are you, the precious focus and mind space and emotions that are you going to waste them tearing yourself down by being stressed out, by creating more inflammation and heart disease? And
Yeah, no
I
thanks.
told you earlier, I was reading this book. It's The Rabbit Effect, Kelly Harding.
Yep.
And, I want to share this with people. It's about how to live longer, happier, and healthier with the groundbreaking science of kindness.
Aww.
And it started with a group of rabbits. They were doing high cholesterol diets with rabbits to see if, what the effect would be. And there were all these groups of rabbits, and all of the rabbits' cholesterol, of course, went sky high. They'd put them on like 300% cholesterol or whatever. Poor little rabbits. But one group of rabbits had 60% less heart problems, cholesterol in their veins, everything. And they couldn't figure out why until they recognized, because everything else was the same. It was because of their handler.
Right.
One of the lab techs treated the rabbits as if they were her own pets, and that she loved them and petted them and called them wonderful names and came in looking forward to them. And their heart disease and their cholesterol was 60% less than everybody else's. When you are in a space of love, when you're receiving love, when you're giving love, when you're thinking love, your body is healing itself.
Well, and this is where, and we've talked about this before, that's Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, right? And if I love his book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself and Creating a Whole New Mind. Why? Because he actually communicates in there about how every disease has a vibration, as well as every emotion has a vibration. And he shows in that book the megahertz of love and gratitude versus competition and fear. So even think about what's going on in the world right now, right? So we've got all this fear. Pick the topic, right? Financial fear, pandemic fear, mask fear, vaccine fear, government leader, screw up fear, whatever. It's all over the place. And that's low vibe, which means if you're going to connect into that, or even fear of leaving a relationship that has not served you for years, or that you're financially afraid because you're not the one that made all the money all the years and you're not willing to leave because you're not really sure how it's going to turn out. And it's about the fact that you have to get your emotions from fear up to something else, because otherwise you will create disease in your body. You will. It's a mathematical formula. They now know the megahertz, right? It's crazy. What are your thoughts on that? I'm sorry, I'm going to move this. This is like really crazy.
Yeah.
The sun is moving. Keep going, Rita. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just, it's interesting because psychology has taught us for a long time that the way to feel better is to go through your head, is to talk about things, like you did with all your friends, to talk about things with everybody and to figure out and the why and the what and whose fault it is, what can I do? And
nobody's fault.
Yeah. And that's kind of been the Western model for mental health for a long time.
Right.
But they've started to look at the body and the body's role in mental health. And in reality, we think we have to go through our head and weave our way through some story. Well, my mom did this and I have a memory of that. And maybe this person did that to me, or maybe I'm broken or whatever. And in reality, we just need to calm our bodies down. The joke that you and I always have is, well, if you're stressed out, go to the spa. We
still need to make that appointment together.
I know we do. But that's the thing. Women are taught, and I was thinking about this the other day. I was raised Catholic, and every time I walked into the church on Sunday, here I'm looking at this guy in a cross with pins through his, wrists, bleeding down, emaciated. His ribs are showing. He's got a thorn of crowns on his head. Blood is dripping down his head. And he did it to sacrifice for you. Right. And I'm not saying that I'm a big Jesus fan. I am a big Jesus fan.
Right.
I just don't think that
of the story.
yeah. However, that might have needed to have been done then. And in fact, this whole Jesus thing was, I sacrifice so you don't have to. But the problem is we, at least as a woman, I was walked in and it was validated. If you want to be a good person, you're going to be like that. What would Jesus do? Right. And the thing is when we suffer and sacrifice and allow ourselves to be destroyed, we're not actually giving our best to the world.
Right.
And that might have been needed at that time, but what's needed now is for us to nourish ourselves and love ourselves. It's a different worldview. We have to change our worldview from dog eat dog and everybody's a bad person and I have to suffer and sacrifice for things to be better. That's an old worldview based on those beliefs. We're in a new worldview where we're all like plants, and if you talk to us nicely and give us water and go on walks and all of that good stuff, feel love, have love, we're going to thrive.
Yep. I totally agree with that because I really think that we need to start to go in quiet space, right? Like, I even noticed this with my kids. Like, there's a lot. Like my kid just got punished at school yesterday for not having his mask on the correct way. And I was like, what are we psychologically doing to these children? And again, I think a lot of stuff is fear-based. Yes, there's the logical side, and yes, things need to be appropriately taken care of. And trust me, I'm a compliant person. But in the same token, like punishing him because his mask wasn't on his face properly, because they've now done instructions of exactly how to pinch it around your nose and put it across your face. I'm like going, hello, like hospitalization rates are not up. Like, but okay, anyone could have any side of that argument. I don't even want to go there. But what I'm saying is, why are we coming from the place on so many topics these days of the place of like trying to control or fix something? And you've taught me, Rita, that that's just a stress mechanism. Like you're trying to reduce your stress because you're trying to control and entrain everybody around you. And trust me, Julie is the in charge, take in charge, try to control everything. You've taught me that is a big, major piece of this equation these days. That, and I see in relationships all the time when there's something going on in a relationship, one of the two in the couple are trying to control the other one with their money. And we really have to look at how are we showing up today in trying to control everything around us. And really, we just need to let it unravel. It's okay. And I remember thinking this in my divorce and even to the point with my children that I had to just let it unfold and unravel, despite the fact that my insides were telling me, abort, don't do that, because that was the fear that was inside of me that got planted when I was a kid, and so I would love for everyone who's watching to kind of maybe take that time to themselves and look at, how am I trying to control everything around me? Where am I showing up in a place of fear? And then, because today we were talking about, like, it's about getting in the flow. Well, if you're trying to control and you're in fear, whether it's your relationships, your money, or any other topic, you can't be in the flow because you're creating resistance by having that fear and that control. And again, it just leads to disease in your own body. So why not start to address it before a health crisis comes? Right?
I want to give people a visual for this. And that's part of the reason I do visualizations, taking people out into space, because it's for perspective.
Sure.
So here we are in this planet, and this planet is spinning, and it's also going around the sun, and it's also going through the universe, only protected by the solar wind from our sun. So we're right this second, we're spinning and rocketing through the universe at millions of miles an hour. Now, think about the fact that we're only one solar system. We've got a whole galaxy, and then not our galaxy, We've got untold numbers of galaxies. I mean, and now, you know, the last few years, science has said the universe keeps growing, keeps getting bigger. You know, and that there's meta universes, that there's multiple universes. It's endless, and it's working fine without your help. And in fact, it's the one in charge.
Think about that. It's working fine. And for all those ladies out there who are trying to control the shit out of their men, which there are way too many of us out there, stay in your lane. They're going to be fine if you don't do any of that. You just go be the greatest version of you and allow the space, be in your magic as a divine feminine being, and hold the safe space, be your rockin' self, and allow everyone around you to rise up to their greatness, because you're rising to your greatness. Sorry.
Yes. Oh no, I'm glad I pushed that button. That was a wonderfully impassioned. I feel that way too about this stuff. I'm like, no, it's so easy. You know, so the Buddha's wisdom was, he would sit there and feelings would come and feelings would go, and tragedies would come and tragedies would go, and things would come and things would go. And if he sat there and did nothing, they came and they went. Because the universe is moving around you. It's up to you to catch up with the universe. It's up to you to get in. There's this flow that's happening. There's this pattern, this song, this harmony that's happening all around us. And if we can recognize it by slowing down, then we can get in the fast lane. Salmon are able to swim upstream. I always felt bad for salmon, you know, and the story was, oh, salmon have to work so hard, and you have to work so hard to go upstream. And how are you going to go upstream? You know, until I read that salmon, they leap high so that they can get down low, and they catch the lower currents, which are going upstream. So they're not trying to swim upstream in the current that's going in the opposite direction. They're finding the stream that takes them where they want to go. Yeah. They're not fighting. They're finding the thing, that the fast track, the road, the interstate that takes them where they want to go with the least amount of work. And so all they have to do is jump up joyfully into the air and then fly back down, deep down to their current. It's cool.
And I always say, and the same is true with our money. I always say that money is energy, and it's about how do you want your cash to flow. I just did a video the other day about that. I want you to take the word budget completely out of your vocabulary. I love it. Because everybody feels limited, stuck. Who wants to feel stuck? No, you're gonna go spend a ton of money because you feel stuck at some juncture, because you're gonna emotionally act it out. And no different than in our relationships, you know, like if you're not getting what your needs are met, you're going to go get your needs met somewhere else, right? Unless you address what's actually going on there, right? And so it's about your flow. How do you want your cash to flow? It's not about a budget. It's about unplugging from your survival victim responses and get into this response of empowerment of, oh, here's the menu of options, because here's the inflow, here's where my desires are for my outflow. Now let me prioritize them and actually choose it. Don't default into it. Choose it. And understand your why behind it all. And whether you have too much or too little or somewhere in between, it doesn't matter, because what I've noticed is I don't care how many zeros you have. It's all the same patterns. It's human patterning.
Yeah, and it's about those invisible patterns, those invisible currents.
Right.
You know, and if everybody, you know, and I would look at these things before and think, oh, that's so daunting. It's too big, you know, because the old story is, how do you need an elephant? You know, well, one bite at a time. Who wants to eat an elephant? I don't want to eat an elephant. I want to eat a meal that I enjoy in bites that are comfortable for me. I don't want to eat an elephant. And so it feels daunting, but it starts with something as simple as putting your hand on your chest, over your heart, letting your breathing slow, It's that conscious choice to come back to you.
That's true.
And when you make the conscious choice of, I'm not going to go say that thing or do that thing that I always do because it's not working for me, and instead you take a breath, you say, wait, I don't do that anymore. I'm going to just put my hand on my chest. And physically what that does is it tells your brain, pay attention to your heart now, please.
Right.
Wherever you put your focus is where your body puts its focus. And if you're out there bitching about what somebody else is doing, you are not in your heart. And the way to get into your heart is just simply put your hand on your chest instead of eating another Christmas cookie.
Right.
You know, or going back online and buying something else from Amazon.
So true.
Or even sending that text, which feels really good in the moment. But guess what? It just keeps prolonging that suffering cycle.
Right. That's so true, because you're not actually going to the core. You're
Right.
not going to the core.
And if you don't know what to do, hand on your heart.
Right. And so, Rita, how do people get a hold of you? Because I know you're doing some meditation thing, right?
Oh yeah, I do a challenge every year just for the fun of it. And it changes all the time. You know, like, oh, this year it looks like this. So last year I had like 1 billion people and it was like this fun crowd. This year we're simplifying it. We're going to do a 5-day challenge on meditating. And I'm going to do a 15-minute video every day. And we're going to do things like help them create the space that supports their meditation, help them create the rituals that support their meditation, get the support. We're going to do a round table with all these women, because as simple as it sounds, taking that 5 minutes and coming back to your heart and not saying that thing or not doing that thing,
right?
You know, but relaxing, it physically changes your body in ways most people can't imagine. I used to like going to Cirque du Soleil in Vegas, but the naked ones, Zumanity, because I love to watch everybody's bodies and what they could do. You know, our bodies, when you are calm and relaxed and at the spa, your body is optimal. Your body is working at the smartest, the healthiest, the everything that it can be, and it's coming up with brilliant ideas. So it's recognizing to come back to self. And it doesn't take a lot of time. So the meditation challenge is getting the support and the information and the bullying and the guruing and everything somebody needs to start developing a practice over 5 days. So I'll be getting the page up within the next day or so. So if people want to find me on Facebook, I'll be listing information there. They can find me and friend me, or all my stuff's public on my page. And I'll be putting the registration page on there. And it's going to be fast and fun, but it'll be life-changing, because when you understand why it's more important to love yourself than it is to fix anybody else, your entire existence changes. You literally go from level 3 in the Mario game to level 4. You get like magic jewels. And, it's magical. It's magical when you start to love yourself.
Well, and as usual, for me, you guys can go to awakenyourwealthbook.com. Still giving away my book for free. Why? Because we need a lot of financial healing around the world. And I just ask that you pay for your shipping. So, and we are here to help. We are here every week. So hit that subscribe button, like, and notification bell, so you know when we're here chatting. And if you have questions or anything, please comment, share it, because we want to talk about the stuff that is on your noodles and how you're challenged in transitioning and suggestions. And we are here to help, but we want to hear from you guys too. All right.
Right, because we can take our wisdom and knowledge and we can apply it to your specific problem. So you understand how to do the thing you're trying to do. So make sure you ask, because then we can give you direct coaching on how to solve the problem that you're dealing with in the easiest, most successful, prosperous way.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for another week, Rita, and we will
Thank
see
you.
you all next week.
Yep.
Ciao.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.